What is a zine? No, really, what is a zine? Because I've seen this concept pop up on Pinterest in a lot of different ways, and so I'm kind of fuzzy on the exact definition. And I think I've made one? I don't know. You'll have to tell me, but I've definitely got ahead of myself. Let's start at the beginning. This studio session started off, as many do, with me just kind of waffling around for a little while. See, I didn't have anything in particular that I wanted to work on, no big collages or grand ideas. And I recently finished my sketchbook, so I didn't really know what to do with myself. Luckily, I went through a period of making lots of little notebooks, so I found one of those just sort of sitting on my desk somewhere and decided to give it a cover. Like most collage artists, I just had tons of scraps hanging out on my desk, and I thought, what a great chance to use them. And that's how this started. I just wanted to make a cover for this notebook, but I was having such a good time with it that I thought, you know what, let's keep this party going. At this point, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I just started looking through various books and magazines to try to see if there was any copy that would be sort of interesting to include, any clumps of color. I can't stress this enough, there was no plan. Sometimes just letting your mind wander and create without expectation is the best way to get out of your own way. I will say that what I think made this particular collage session so immediately enjoyable was the fact that I had a lot of paper on my desk. I mean a lot. So many scraps everywhere. On either side of my elbows it was piled up, but you can kind of get a taste of the absolute madness that was surrounding me. I'm as guilty as the next person in feeling sometimes overwhelmed by the mess that's on my desk, and I get impulses to clean it up and make everything look nice and neat. However, once I'm actually in the act of creating, a messy desk can be so much more inspiring for me. I'm able to see more pieces, and my brain just sort of starts making connections to things. I think one of the reasons that I like collage is that because the pieces can often dictate the ideas that pop up. If there are no pieces out and I'm trying to come up with ideas whole cloth, it starts to feel a bit overwhelming. It starts to feel a bit more onerous. So all of this to say, I think that having a nice clean desk for me is helpful sometimes. I do have to keep in mind that the way that I work in particular, having a messier desk can ultimately lead to more creativity. So Jess, you're okay to have a messy workspace. It doesn't make you a failure. It's gonna be okay. And that goes for anyone else here. If you're watching and you have a messy workspace, you're okay. It doesn't need to be clean and perfect and Instagram worthy. Sometimes the best spaces are the ones that you can work in, and that's all that matters. So despite not having a plan, or maybe because I didn't have a plan, this page is challenging the status quo. It's about questioning what we care about, what we spend our time on, and whether or not those things that we think are important are important. We have only so much time on this earth, and I think that the watches in particular were sort of driving me to think about time and how we spend it. As I'm building up this background, I'm thinking about the fact that I want to put this factory image on the page, and I'm keeping in mind the previous page about time and how we spend it, and how a lot of our time is spent. I can only speak for myself, but in the time that I have, I am building a career, I'm building a home, I'm building up a safety net for myself. And obviously these are valuable things. I want to take care of myself and my family. But where I think that it's easy to get tripped up, at least for me, is that my lizard brain is very strong and it wants things. It wants more and more and more, even if I have enough. And I'm using the term lizard brain a little tongue-in-cheek here. I'm not trying to blame some mystical part of my mind. My actions are my own, and I'm responsible for everything that I purchase and buy. I am responsible for the things that drive me. I have the capacity to affect change in my own life. It's just really hard to turn that part of me off. Part of what my art helps me do is think about these aspects of my own nature and question myself and create space for me to have a dialogue, at least internally, about the decisions that I make and what I do find important or valuable. In this book, I'm definitely thinking about not just my own reactions to the world, but also to the external pressures that are constantly building up around me and driving some of the decisions that I make. And speaking of decisions that I'm making, I, at some point a few pages ago, decided to use this pink alcohol marker and to give the book some cohesion. I thought, I'll put this on a couple other pages. So that's what I'm doing here. Thinking I'm drawing like a waterfall? I don't know. I don't remember exactly what I was thinking here. On the previous page, I was going for like a sun in the background. And this one, I don't know. And now that the background is done and all these thoughts are swirling in my head, I start pulling out words that would express these ideas. I ended up finding some words that essentially say, why not challenge the idea that we should always be productive or building something. And that's another thing, right? Like, I feel bad sometimes when I'm not doing anything. There's this constant need or feeling of anxiety that bubbles to the surface when I'm not being productive in some way. Maybe that's part of our problem. We don't spend enough time just thinking and allowing our minds to process what we're experiencing. It's just this constant need for more and more. And if you're not entertaining yourself in some way, then you need to be busy doing something or building something. So now that I'm a few pages deep and some ideas are really starting to get fleshed out, I decide to bop back over to the inside front cover, and my statement ends up being, "You're going to miss the colorful private loves of moss and mountains," which is just sort of a poetic way of saying if you stay focused on yourself and the constant churn, then you'll never look up and see the world for what it is. Then I bop forward again and start fleshing out this idea with a few more words. And the idea that I'm getting at here is that we often take for granted the first ideas that we're handed, and you don't necessarily have to do that. If you have an idea that's been given to you by your parents or your community or what have you, and if you match it against your own values and find that that idea doesn't work or it doesn't bring you happiness, it is okay to let those ideas go. There was a time whenever I was kind of obsessed with getting a Chanel purse. I guess I thought that that would be some marker of success. Over time, I have realized that I don't value those items and I don't think that they're important for my life, and that's okay. They can be important for someone else. I reached the halfway point, and it was at this point in time that I thought to myself, am I making a zine right now? So I looked it up, and the internet, mighty and powerful that it is, told me that a zine is a handmade, check, unprofessional, check, magazine produced for a small audience, check. I don't know. I think I'm doing it. So progress continued, and I did come back to this on a different day just because it was getting late. I will say that though I made no changes to my desk, progress did begin to lull a bit because now I had this idea that the rest of the book would need to follow the same theme. I was getting a little bit in my head. It was kind of funny how it became more difficult once I felt committed to this course. If I were to redo this concept, I would probably save all of my edge trimming until the end. I cut into the book a few times. It's not super noticeable and it's not a big deal, but I just would have ended up with cleaner edges and probably a nicer result. I don't know though. Maybe if I had waited to trim the edges, I would have gotten annoyed with the book and maybe would have stopped working on it. So maybe there was no right way or wrong way. have this clip sped up, so just so you know, I'm not actually moving this fast. I am slowly contemplating all of the texts that I have on my desk, arranging, rearranging, trying to make it make sense, and also trying to make it make sense for the zine that I'm working on. Oh, and it took a long time. At this point, I think you're getting the gist of where my head is at and what I'm trying to convey, so I'll probably just be quiet for a while, let you have your own moment of quiet introspection, decide whether or not this resonates with you. If it doesn't, that's totally fine, but maybe there are other things that you want to think about. So,
okay,
I'm gonna
Google,
be
what's
quiet.
the definition
Just let
of
it
the
play.
word zenith?
Here's the definition of zenith: the time at which something is most powerful or successful.
Hey, sorry to break the quiet, but I wanted to take a moment to say, if you enjoy the vibes or art on this channel, it could be a big boost if you'd be willing to like, comment, and share. I know that kind of engagement isn't for everyone, so I will also say just watching is helpful. So thank you to all. All right, I'm back to going quiet until the recap closer to the end. having now finished my little zine, I can tell you that I loved the beginning of this process. It was so much fun. Ideas were flowing, things were happening. It felt really easy. And about halfway through, it got a lot harder, like there was just so many words everywhere, and I wanted to make sure that it had a cohesive idea all the way through. I wanted to make sure it had a good, strong ending. Every story needs an ending. So, yeah, getting it there was a bit tough. Regardless, it was a ton of fun to make. I think the trick is to find a topic that you're really actually genuinely passionate about. And at least in the way that I made this scene, by using found words and kind of working them into quasi poetry, it helped me a lot. I didn't have to necessarily, I don't know. I've seen ones where there's lots of like facts, and I think those are really interesting and really, really cool, but it seems like a lot of work. And when I get into the studio, I kind of want to make things that are fun and simple and maybe not super complex. So this was a good time. I hope that you had a good time. I appreciate you hanging out with me in the studio today. If you do want to hang out a little bit longer, then YouTube thinks that you'll like this video. And I think that's it. Okay, bye. See ya. Bye.